On paper, this could be the best performance bargain SUV that you can buy. Tesla has given the performance treatment to the new and very much improved Model Y. It has more power, adaptive suspension, sportier seats, all of it. And based on the Tesla Model Y that's in our 1-year road test fleet, a car that we actually own and live with every day, this should also be a much improved product. But I have some questions. Is this a performance SUV that's actually fun to drive? Is its range any good? What I'm most curious about is how does it compare to that Model 3 performance that's right behind me? We're here at my favorite place, the Edmunds Test Track, and we got some work to do. We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us. So let's see how the Teslas did during their testing. Before we got to the track, we put them both up on our scales like we do with every car, and found that the Model Y is about 400 pounds heavier than the Model 3. That's unsurprising for an SUV, and it's also about the same as a BMW X3 M50, but a few hundred pounds lighter than a Hyundai Ioniq 5N. Now remember that weight difference though, because that's going to be relevant again soon. On our acceleration straightaway, the new Model Y Performance hit 60 in 3.6 seconds, which is about half a second behind the Model 3 Performance. It's also 0.3 seconds slower than the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, and just for fun, it's 0.6 seconds quicker than a Model Y Premium. Comparable gas SUVs like that BMW can't touch it. The X3 M50 is almost a whole second behind it. At the quarter-mile marker, the Model Y Performance remains a half second behind the Model 3 Performance, clocking in at 11.5 seconds. In other words, EVs with lots of power are still very quick, and water is still wet. And if that Model 3 Performance result looks a little slower than when we tested it last time, that's because Tesla no longer offers the option of a summer tire. Both Teslas here are running on all-season tires, which affects performance a bit, but also helps level the playing field. In our 60-0 emergency braking run, the Model Y took 121 feet to stop, while the Model 3 took 115 feet. We think that the all-season tires are to blame for these very average numbers because the 2020 Model Y Performance on summer tires did the same thing in 108 feet. That's a huge difference. And in case you're wondering, the Ioniq 5N has them both beat here as well, stopping in 110 feet, and that BMW needs only 111 feet. On the 200-foot skid pad, where we measure a car's grip and handling, the Teslas both had a decent showing. The Model 3 pulled 0.97 G, which is actually the same exact number we recorded when we tested the car a few months ago on summer tires. And the Model Y pulled 0.91 G. But yet again, that sneaky Hyundai is better here, because it pulled a very impressive 1.0 G of force. So what did we learn from all this? Well, the Model Y fails to reach the electric performance SUV benchmark set by the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, but it outperforms a comparable gas option like that BMW in most areas. More importantly for this test, it lags just a bit behind the Model 3 in every category we test. After their time on track, both Teslas completed our Edmunds EV range test. Now we've already run the Model 3 on summer tires, so this was a follow-up to see if the all-seasons added range. And they did not. They actually did worse by about 14 miles, as the car did 292 miles this time around. Even our most engineering-savvy people on staff couldn't explain this one. On the other hand, this is our first go in the Tesla Model Y Performance, and it fell back into the ways of older Tesla models by not meeting its EPA estimate. It's rated for 306 miles, and we did 293, or just one better than the Model 3. So the range figures here are a little bit unexpected, honestly. But what are they like to drive? All right, let's get the Model 3 set up to drive quickly. I go into dynamics, acceleration, we're gonna leave in insane. Ride and handling, sport, that's great. Steering weight, totally up to you, let's leave it in the middle. Then we go into track mode, and in here I can mess with a bunch of different things. The stability assist, the powertrain endurance, I can mess with the handling and see how oversteery or understeery I want it. Tesla really lets you do quite a bit to play with this car. And then over on the left side of the screen, I can see how hot the motors and the brakes are getting, which is helpful if you're going to be driving this on a track. All right, 2 electric motors, all-wheel drive, 510 horsepower, and it feels abundant. Just about in any scenario, the acceleration performance you get from this car is bonkers. It's addicting, it really is. So we're familiar with what this car can do around our test track, and that's because we bought one. We added a Model 3 Performance to our 1-year road test last year. And shortly after we bought that car, my good friend and serial snack eater Brian Wong took it around this very track. I actually drove it on that same day. And what we came away with is that this is a good little performance electric vehicle, especially for the money. Get into the brake pedal too, nice and stable, not too squishy. It's not the best brake pedal I've ever experienced. I mean, it's not like what you would experience in a Porsche Taycan, but overall, not too bad. Let's pitch it into the corner here with a little bit of heat. Suspension stays nice and neutral, not a lot of body roll. That's the benefit that you get from having a car that's lower to the ground there. It hangs on just fine. But on that note, the car that Brian and I drove a couple of months ago was on summer tires, and Tesla has very sneakily gotten rid of that summer tire option. So I'm rolling on all seasons right now, and I can tell you without question that they don't hang on as well as those summers did. We would like to have that summer tire option back, especially if you're gonna be driving this car quickly and often. Now within that track mode, you can move around the balance. You can shift the torque all around the car to have it be more oversteery or understeery to your liking. I can't tell you that it makes a huge difference. Any way you slice it, it just seems to lean toward understeer no matter what. And that's fine. It's just the character of the car and you kind of get used to it. You compensate for it going into each corner. But to make this very simple, this is a very competent and well-priced performance car, electric or otherwise. And if you're in the market for a performance EV of your own, check out Edmunds.com where you can see pricing on vehicles in your area. All right, let's set ourselves up for success in the Model Y. So you head over to this menu called Dynamics, and there's already less stuff to play with than in the Model 3, so it's pretty simple. Acceleration, we're gonna go all the way over to Insane. For my brake regen, we'll leave it on standard. Ride and handling, give me the best you got in sport. The traction control, we're gonna leave where it is because we don't need off-road. Steering is really personal preference. You would think heavier is best, but that's not really the case. I'm gonna leave it right there in the middle, and that's about it. Brace for impact, 3, 2, 1. Hurts your stomach all the way up to about 100 miles per hour. Freakishly quick acceleration and hard on the brakes. I was just talking to one of our testing editors, Kurt, who right away told me as I hopped in, hey, be careful, the brakes overheat. And Kurt was right. We've only done a few laps so far in the Model Y Performance, and the pedal is going squishy, and we've even had warnings come up on the screen saying that the brakes are too warm. So maybe that's why Tesla didn't give this a track mode. So this has the same adaptive dampers as the Model 3 Performance, but it's a little bit softer all the way around. It has different knuckles, bushings, and sway bars in the Model 3 too. But what I'm finding out almost immediately here is that because of the higher ride height and the extra weight that the Model Y Performance carries, it is a lot more sketchy going around corners. Sketchy's maybe a little bit over aggressive, but there's tons of body movement. It shakes and shimmies left to right, and under hard braking, it moves around as well. The suspension setup is just a little bit off if you want to drive this thing hard. Now you would think that because the suspension setup is a little bit softer on the Model Y, that the ride quality would be really good, but that's actually not the case at all. On the way here to the track this morning, I was driving it, and really over bumps, it's just sloppy. You can feel a ton coming through the steering wheel especially. It's not as comfortable as I would like on the road. And yes, you can change the adaptive dampers, but you can pick between bad or worse. Now, another thing to note is that the Model Y Performance is on Hankook all-season tires. Those are going to be your friend when it comes to range in this car, but they are not your friend right now as I'm trying to get this around a corner. They are squealing and they are giving up on grip sooner than they would like them to. Now, I will say these seats are doing a very good job of holding me in place while I'm pitching the car into a turn. They're a little firm for my liking in everyday driving, but overall I can get over that. And while I'm on the seats, the driving position in this car is just odd. I mean, I have the seat as low down as it can go, and still, me not being very tall, I am way up high. It feels like I'm driving a city bus right now. And the steering wheel is just not something I can take seriously for any car that has the word performance in it. This is like I'm driving one of those Autopia cars at Disneyland. All right, last and most important, is this car fun to drive? Yes, kinda. It is ballistic quick in a straight line, but that's kind of where the party ends. The Model 3 performance is quite a bit better around our track than this is. And the other part that kind of surprised me is that the ride quality in the Model Y performance is much worse than the Model Y long range. So it's sort of, you're not winning anywhere, to be honest with you. And while I sit here and think about it, if this is supposed to be a performance SUV, I want some toys. I want something cool to play with. The Ioniq 5N makes fun noises. You can do simulated shifts. I'm not getting any of that in this car. So really, I'm just a little bit lost why you'd want one. On paper, this could be the best performance bargain SUV that you can buy. Now we know that nobody is buying a Model Y Performance as a track car, and after just driving it on the track, I'm really glad that that's the case. But the advantage that the Y has over the 3 is the practical stuff, the things that you notice when you're not flying around a track. So the Model Y has about 5 inches more legroom over the Model 3, and the roofline is also a bit more generous, so those in the back are gonna have a nicer time. The screen in the Model Y Performance is also slightly bigger than that of the Model 3 Performance, although Tesla does say that the bigger screen is coming to the Model 3 as well, so that's kind of a wash. But when it comes to cargo, this feels like it has almost double the space of the Model 3. There is a lot more room to put your stuff in the back. And something that I find just kind of strange about the Model 3 and the Model Y Performance that feels very specific to Tesla. They put all this engineering work into making these cars drive as well as they can, but these aren't cars that you necessarily want to drive all the time. I'm looking at a button that says start self-driving in front of me, and the UI is constantly pushing you to want to use the self-driving feature. I mean, it's oddly named full self-driving, but I gotta say, the latest version of it is really, really good. You have to pay $8,000 for it for one-time use, or you can pay monthly to get it, but it's a feature that I would absolutely get in this car. So why am I getting something that I want to drive in a car that wants to do it for me? So before we move on to the value and the verdict, if you think that there's something we missed, or if you have any questions, or if there's a video that you would like us to make, let us know in the comments, because we read every single one of them. Maybe not me, but somebody will. And if you like what you're seeing, a like and subscribe goes a long way to help us out. So let's focus here on value for a second. It's a little bit interesting here because these are basically the same car underneath. One is a sedan, one is an SUV. So the price difference between them is only about $2,500, or if you're leasing, only about $50 extra per month. So really, it's negligible. So I came into this video thinking that because these two cars are so similar, and I like the way that this one drives, that the Model Y would be very, very close to that. But just a few laps around the Edmunds test track taught me differently very quickly. So if you want to buy a Tesla and you want to drive that Tesla quickly, this is the car to buy. It's the best one in their lineup for that job. But if you're dead set on needing an SUV, then buy the regular version of the Model Y, because the ride quality and the other compromises make this one not worth it. That is about the closest I'm going to get to useful consumer advice. So with that, thanks for watching.